Have you ever wondered how the teachings of Jesus Christ could provide a solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict? It's a question that may seem outlandish at first, but consider this. Jesus, often depicted as a preacher of peace and love, had a clear preference for resolving disputes through peaceful means rather than violent actions. One of the most frequently recited verses, Matthew 5:9, part of the revered Sermon on the Mount, proclaims, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God." This verse underscores the importance of peace and nonviolent resolution of conflicts. In the face of the ongoing Israel-Palestine conflict, the teachings of Jesus may offer a refreshing perspective. By invoking the wisdom of Jesus as a peacemaker, we could explore an entirely different approach to this complex issue. So let's venture together into this thought experiment. Imagine Jesus, the peacemaker, mediating in the heart of this conflict. Scene script. Picture this. Jesus, in the midst of this long-standing conflict, speaking words of wisdom and peace. In the heart of the dispute, Jesus, as a true peacemaker, would stand. He'd look upon the strife and turmoil and remind us of the words from Romans 12:18, "If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone." He would not be there to choose sides or to fan the flames of division, but rather to echo the call of unity, of understanding, of peace. He would open a dialogue, a conversation rooted in empathy, and aimed at reconciliation. He would remind us not only of the teachings of the apostles but of his own words. He would call upon the Sermon on the Mount, reminding us all, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God." Jesus, the mediator, would not advocate for military actions or violent solutions. Instead, he would encourage discussions, negotiations, seeking to find common ground between the two sides. He would remind us that we are all neighbors, that we are all children of God, and that we all have a duty to love and respect each other. He would question the motivations behind this conflict, and he would urge us to look deeper, to find the root causes of our disagreements. He would remind us of the importance of human life, of the sanctity of every individual, and of the destructive consequences of war and violence. In the midst of the conflict, Jesus would stand as a beacon of hope, a symbol of peace, and a guide to resolution. He would show us that even in the face of the most profound disagreements, we can find common ground, we can find peace, and we can find a way forward. And so, as we envision this scenario, let us remember the teachings of Jesus. Let us strive to live in peace with everyone, to love our neighbors as ourselves, and to seek resolution through dialogue and understanding rather than through conflict and war. But why are we in conflict in the first place? What drives us against each other? It's a question that has puzzled philosophers, theologians, and scholars for centuries. What is the motive behind the conflict? Is it land, resources, or power? Or could it be something deeper, something that dwells within the very heart of humanity? In the Israel-Palestine conflict, we see a myriad of factors at play. Historical grievances, territorial disputes, cultural differences, all these have a part. But what if we look at these issues through the lens of Jesus' teachings? Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew presents us with two commandments that encapsulate the essence of the Old Testament law. He says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself." Now, let's put these commandments in perspective. If we truly loved God with all our heart, would we not respect his creations, human and otherwise? Would we not strive to preserve the sanctity of life and the beauty of nature, rather than engage in destructive conflicts? And if we really loved our neighbor as ourselves, would we not treat them with kindness and respect? Would we not empathize with their pain and do our best to alleviate it? Would we not seek understanding rather than sowing discord? Jesus would likely question our motivations that drive us to conflict. He would ask us to examine our hearts, to see if love for God and our neighbor truly resides there. He would remind us that love is not just a feeling, but a call to action. It's a commitment to understanding, empathy, and respect. It's about seeking peace and harmony, not just for ourselves but for everyone around us. And so as we ponder the motives behind the conflict, let's remember Jesus' teachings. Let's remember that love is the foundation of peace. That understanding is the path to resolution. And that every conflict, no matter how complex, can be navigated through the lens of love. Jesus would remind the parties involved about the importance of love and peace. In the teachings of Jesus, love and peace are inseparable. They form the bedrock of a harmonious society. Diving deep into the wisdom of Jesus, we discover a profound emphasis on love. He paints a vivid picture of a world where love is the guiding principle. When asked about the greatest commandment, Jesus replied in Matthew 22:37, 40, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself." This wasn't just a friendly suggestion but a radical call to a lifestyle of love, setting the tone for the ethics of love and peace that he preached. In fact, Jesus' teachings go beyond the surface level of simply avoiding harm to others. He encourages proactive love, asking us to do good to those who hate us, bless those who curse us, and pray for those who mistreat us, as mentioned in Luke 6:27-28. This kind of love is transformative. It doesn't just react to situations, but actively seeks to make a positive impact on others in the world. Now let's talk about peace. Jesus did not just call for a passive peace, an absence of conflict. Instead, he advocated for active peacemaking. In Matthew 5:9, he declares, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God." Peace, in Jesus' teachings, is not just about avoiding conflict but actively seeking reconciliation and understanding. So how does love inform this call for peace? Simply put, it's hard to harbor ill will or seek harm against someone you genuinely love. Love promotes understanding, patience, and forgiveness, which are the pillars of peace. It compels us to see beyond our differences and find common ground, fostering unity and harmony. In this way, love and peace are two sides of the same coin in Jesus' teachings. One fuels the other. Love inspires us to seek peace, and peace allows love to flourish. They are intertwined, working together to create a world that reflects the heart of God. Jesus, the peacemaker, would advocate for an approach rooted in love to resolve disagreements. So, what would be the resolution to the Israel-Palestine conflict, according to Jesus? If we reflect on the teachings of Jesus, we find a blueprint for peace, understanding, and harmony. Jesus emphasized the power of love and kindness, and these principles can be applied to the most complex and entrenched conflicts, including the one between Israel and Palestine. Imagine if both sides, inspired by the teachings of Jesus, chose to embrace love as their guiding principle. If they looked at their neighbors not as enemies but as brothers and sisters, children of the same divine parent. Jesus said in Matthew 22:39, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself." This is not just a command, it is a pathway to peace, a solution to conflict. Moreover, Jesus taught us the power of forgiveness. In Matthew 18:21-22, Peter asked Jesus how often he should forgive someone who sins against him, and Jesus responded, "I do not say to you up to 7 times but up to 70 times 7. Imagine if this level of forgiveness was applied to the Israel-Palestine conflict. The cycle of retaliation could be broken, making way for reconciliation and lasting peace. Jesus also taught us to turn the other cheek, to respond to aggression with kindness. In Matthew 5:39 he said, "But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also." This doesn't mean to accept injustice, but to not let hatred and violence dictate our actions. And let's not forget the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus proclaimed, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God." The peacemakers are those who choose dialogue over violence, understanding over prejudice, love over hatred. They are the ones who, despite all odds, strive for peace. These teachings of Jesus are not easy to follow, especially in the face of conflict and strife. But they offer a path, a direction towards resolution. They remind us that peace is not won on the battlefield, but in the hearts and minds of people. Through Jesus' teachings, we learn that peace is not just the absence of conflict, but a state of well-being and harmony achieved through love and empathy. The teachings of Jesus are powerful. They have the potential to bring about a resolution to the Israel-Palestine conflict. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've discussed. Jesus, the preacher of peace and love, would likely approach this situation with a mediating stance, prioritizing dialogue and mutual understanding over violence. He would challenge the motivations behind the conflict and encourage both parties to seek peaceful resolution. The ethics of love and peace are central to Jesus' teachings, urging us to love God and our neighbors wholeheartedly. This love is the foundation upon which peace is built. It's not just about the absence of conflict, it's about fostering a state of well-being and harmony through selfless love and empathy. If we embrace these teachings, we can see the potential for a path to resolution. It's a path paved with understanding, compassion, and love. Remember, as Jesus taught us, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God."